Former President Trump headed to the Motor City tomorrow to hold a roundtable discussion at a prominent Detroit church.
Can we look at the church? But he goes to this black church in Detroit, and his campaign does not take any steps to avoid the pews being completely filled with white people.
How do we expect, beloved, to beat a xenophobic, white nationalist, white supremacist, documented bigot, celebrated insurrectionist, 4 times indicted, twice impeached, recognized sexual assaulter, convicted fraud perpetrator?
Stop! He's already dead.
Now this, ladies and gentlemen, and all those interested in preserving democracy is how it's done.
And especially if this black church is not united and together, beloved, if we are going to advance our people, we've got to be what? Together.
We all witnessed last week, in an effort to try and bolster his support with black voters, Trump staged an event at a black church in Detroit. With a closer peek at the crowd undoubtedly brought in for such an event, it looked more like a crowd found at the National Cornhole Championships than a black church.
What a nice welcome. Thank you.
That is the reaction to Donald Trump at what nearly every major media outlet reported was his visit to a black church in Detroit, Michigan, one of the 10 blackest cities in America, with a population that's about 78% African American and a poverty rate topping 33%. In other words, it would be hard not to fill a Detroit church with black people. So now I want you to look with your eyes. Just look with your eyes again at this crowd. Is what you're seeing here, what you would write in a headline, is a black church?
And as a result, many drag Trump HQ for their blatant pandering and manipulative tactics that we've seen time and time again.
There's a lot of people in the street outside trying to get inside.
There's thousands upon thousands. I don't know. I estimated today, look, it's about 2-3. Go show that line, Kara, but it's about, I estimated today 25 to 30,000.
Presidential candidate Donald Trump came to the South Bronx today to speak to some supporters and to a fair amount of empty space in Crotona Park. He was as bellicose as you'd expect.
He was in here 4 years already. What did he do for us? Absolutely nothing. I'm born and raised here.
We are here to affirm the values of the people of the Bronx. Diversity, inclusion, democracy, a woman's right to choose, civil rights. Everything that Donald Trump is fighting against is what we are here to affirm.
But while that was important to highlight, I wanted to bring this video to your attention. Now, there's not much I can add to this that wasn't already stated better than I could ever imagine.
Biden's not doing anything like that. Look at the contrast of just this weekend. You got Donald Trump in Detroit talking to 8,000 people, and then at a black church, of course.
How do we expect, beloved, to beat a xenophobic, white nationalist, white supremacist, bona fide racist, known sexist, documented bigot, celebrated insurrectionist, election denier, wannabe politician, 4 times indicted, twice impeached, recognized sexual assaulter, convicted fraud perpetrator, 91 felon charges in 4 states, who doesn't give a, I'm sorry, I'm in church, blankety blank about black people. If the black church, and especially if this black church is not united and together, beloved, if we are going to advance our people, we've got to be what? Together.
But I will reiterate one point from a previous video I did on the matter, specifically regarding Trump's alleged increasing appeal to black voters.
Well, Janelle, put it into perspective. We've talked before. Do you think black voters are leaving the Democratic Party and I guess supporting Donald Trump?
You don't have to look at the people Trump surrounds himself with to conclude that he's anything but for the black community. Look at his past business dealings, comments he's made in the past, full-page articles that he's taken out calling for the death penalty of wrongfully convicted black teens that he still to this day has not apologized for doing.
As Donald Trump faces the prospect of even more indictments and complains that he's being treated unfairly, it's worth remembering his hypocrisy and just how quickly and harshly he judges others. In 1989, he took out a full-page ad calling for the death penalty for 5 young teens who were falsely accused of brutally attacking a Central Park jogger. Years later, the young men were completely exonerated by another man's confession as well as DNA evidence. But Donald Trump has never apologized.
To his most recent comments alleging that the main reason black people in America are supporting him more is because he's, quote, a convicted felon.
And then I got indicted a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against.
Can you get more insulting? Do you really think that people like you, because you were indicted, because there is some suggestion that's being made here that people see themselves in you? He's just like me. I too have been indicted. That discrimination and all that accompanies it can be reduced to what your experience has been. I guess stereotypes might be the new platform here. Forget a family man. Forget a businessman. Forget actual policies you might hold and want to put out into the universe. No, you must like me because you too have had a run-in with the law. Well, why isn't that the pitch for all voters, right? He has said that he is the outsider, the consummate outsider outside the establishment. Why is think that only appeals maybe, or that's why black voters like you? Well, you cannot make this up, you realize. And it's coming from a political frontrunner who's hoping to get more votes, not alienate voters. It tells you exactly what is wrong with where we are today. You know, earlier today, President Joe Biden's campaign made this statement, calling Trump, well, the proud poster boy for modern racism. Now, I'm going to let you decide whether he is, in fact, as advertised. That's up to you to make that conclusion or not. But what he is selling, he hopes black voters are buying, that they are a monolith, that they too face indictments, that they think of discrimination only as it relates to the cases perhaps against him. And that's enough for them. And that is his final pitch in the wee small hours of the morning to voters, at least hours before the polls open in South Carolina. To which you have to say, what the Friday is this?
So no, it is far from surprising that he couldn't fill a black church with actual black voters. His entire history is proof of this.
If you looked at the carefully selected images in their online story, you would probably guess the crowd inside that sanctuary was overwhelmingly black and pro-Trump, literally cheering for him and chanting his name. And you would be forgiven for believing that this reinforces what seems to be the new hot narrative, that it is black people, specifically black men, who are driving Trump back into the White House with their overwhelming and historically growing support. When the actual reality that you can see with your own eyes and know if you peel back the layers just a little bit is that Trump spoke to an overwhelmingly white crowd inside a large Detroit church that, yes, does indeed have a black pastor, but which merely served as a venue. And that the people who participated in the roundtable, like those in the audience at that church, were already Trump supporters, not some new historic black supporters of Trump. Trump was in Detroit to participate in something called the People's Convention, a weekend-long gathering arranged by Turning Point Action, a conservative grassroots group founded by activist Charlie Kirk. It would have been easy enough to ask some of the attendees at that roundtable if they came to that church from the convention. And while several of these stories note that Trump harped on crime as part of his presentation, doesn't it seem kind of ironic and pretty relevant that the guy saying that just recently got convicted of 34 felony counts in New York? I mean, Trump raised the crime rate in Detroit just by being there.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the Midas Touch newsletter at MidasTouch.com/newsletter.